They're getting some breaking news in the investigation into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie.
Some puzzling new developments tonight in the ongoing search for Nancy Guthrie.
3 months. One face. One doorbell camera. One grainy image captured at 2:28 in the morning on February 1st, showing a masked figure moving with deliberate, practiced calm across Nancy Guthrie's property in Tucson. That image became the entire investigation. Law enforcement built around it. Media reported around it. A reward exceeding $1.2 million was structured to bring that person forward. And millions of people who have followed this case since the first week have spent 90 days staring at that same footage, trying to find something in the posture, the gait, the angle of a masked head, that would explain what happened to Nancy Guthrie. On May 6th, that entire framework collapsed. Not because new footage surfaced. Not because someone came forward. But because the woman who built the behavioral science that the FBI has used to catch some of the most dangerous criminals in American history looked at everything law enforcement had assembled and said something that 3 months of wall-to-wall coverage had never once said out loud. The man on that porch may already be dead. And the person who had him killed is still out there, living an ordinary life, watching this investigation from the inside. When Dr. Burgess was asked directly whether the masked intruder acted alone, her answer was immediate. No. But she did not stop there. She said the person the entire world has been searching for may have been eliminated. When pressed on what that meant, she confirmed it. The man on the porch, the only visible suspect in this case, may have been removed by whoever sent him there in the first place. Sit with that for a moment. The only face this investigation has had for 90 days. Not hiding. Not in another country. Possibly gone, disposed of by the same person who put him at that door, because when you send someone to do something this serious and then the entire world starts hunting for them, they stop being useful. They become dangerous. They become the single thread that connects everything back to the person who planned it. Cutting that thread is not panic. It is calculation. The same cold, precise calculation that designed the original crime. Dr. Gary Brucato described the architecture of this case as a spiderweb, and that image is not metaphor. It is structure. A spiderweb has an outer edge that is visible, exposed, designed to catch. And it has a center that is never directly visible from the outside. The outer threads do the work that gets noticed. The center controls everything without ever appearing in the frame. The man at Nancy Guthrie's door was an outer thread. Visible. Exposed. And if Burgess is right, already removed. The center of that web has not been photographed. Has not been named publicly. Has not appeared in a single wanted poster. And for 3 months, while the world stared at the outer edge, the center held completely still. Dr. Casey Jordan answered the question that makes this case genuinely uncomfortable. How does someone plan something like this without ever being seen? Because planning this required knowledge that you cannot get from a search engine. The layout of Nancy's home. Her daily routine. Her patterns. The fact that she lived alone. The specific vulnerabilities in her schedule that could be studied over time and then used. That kind of knowledge comes from proximity. From time spent in or near that environment. From interactions that felt completely routine at the time because they were supposed to. Jordan pointed to the category of person who would have that access without ever triggering a second thought. A delivery driver. A maintenance worker. A service professional. Someone who moved through Nancy Guthrie's world in a way that left no impression because people in those roles are designed to be invisible. Not because they are hiding, but because the function they serve makes them part of the background. Nancy Guthrie has lived in that Tucson home since the 1970s. Decades of people with legitimate reasons to be on that property. Decades of faces that came and went without anyone tracking where they went afterward. And somewhere in that long list of unremarkable interactions, one of them was not unremarkable at all. One of them was paying attention in a very specific way, building a picture over time, waiting for a moment that had not arrived yet. Jordan added one more piece that reframes the entire origin of this case. The boss may have first encountered Nancy through Savannah. Through television. Through the visibility that comes with sitting in front of millions of people every morning on the Today Show. Someone who watched that program and saw not just a journalist, but an entry point. A connection to something private and accessible that they had already decided they wanted. Here's what that means behaviorally. If the person who orchestrated this is exactly who the profilers described, someone embedded in ordinary daily life, then the evidence of what they did does not exist somewhere remote. It exists in their immediate world. In how they have carried themselves since January 31st. In the small, specific ways that people who are not professionals reveal that something has changed. Robert Clemente addressed this directly. He said this person was not a trained operative. They exhibited behavior before and after this crime that the people around them would have noticed. Shifts in routine. A reaction to news coverage that lands slightly off. A distance that appeared without explanation. A tension that sits just underneath the surface of an otherwise normal life. And if the man on the porch was eliminated, there is another layer entirely. Because removing someone is not a clean act. It changes the person who made that decision in ways that do not simply disappear. The weight transfers. It shows up in the exact behavioral markers that experienced investigators are trained to look for. Now here is why the next phase of this case is different from the last 3 months. In the early weeks of this investigation, the Pima County Sheriff's Department was not fully sharing evidence with the FBI. Information that should have reached federal hands early did not. Leadership changes within the sheriff's office put less experienced personnel in control during the most critical window. A forensics professor reviewing the case stated publicly that it will be used in classrooms for years as a study in institutional failure. That window is now closed. The DNA collected at Nancy Guthrie's home, including a hair sample, has been transferred to the FBI laboratory. Federal resources. Advanced forensic technology. The full analytical capability of an agency with no deadline and no reason to stop. The coordination issues between the local department and the FBI have been resolved. The evidence is where it needs to be. And there is no reaching into a federal laboratory to take back what has already been processed. The behavioral framework that Burgess and Brucato and Jordan built gives investigators something they did not have before this week. Not just a theory. A map of how this person thinks. How they manage pressure. What they are protecting. And where, under the sustained weight of an investigation that keeps intensifying, they are most likely to show the first visible crack. 3 months ago, Nancy Guthrie left a family dinner and did not come home. For 3 months, the answer appeared to live in one image on one camera. But the profilers who studied this case saw something different. They saw a visible piece that was always meant to be found. And behind it, a person who planned from a position of complete invisibility, executed through someone else, and when the exposure became too great, made the decision that only someone with something enormous to lose would make. They cut the thread they believed was the last one. But the hair was already collected. The DNA was already processed. The footage had already been analyzed frame by frame. And the threads, every single one of them, trace back to the same point. The FBI is following them. And they are not stopping.